We're here at the Windup Watch Fair in San Francisco. My name is Kazan, the managing editor of Worn and Wound. I'm here with Mike Pearson from Christopher Ward.
How you doing?
Thanks for coming on a Week in Watches to talk to us today.
It's an absolute pleasure. Yeah, it's good to be here with Christopher Ward. This new venue has just been spectacular, so thank you.
The venue's insanely cool. It has all this, you can see it kind of in the video, I hope, lots of natural light. It's incredibly big. We'll have all sorts of clips, I'm sure, showing the size and scale of this place.
Yep.
It's enormous, close to 100 brands. How's the show going for you?
Unbelievable. You're bang on. The light is perfect. Most of the watch get-togethers, you're always going to have a tough time with lighting or photographing watches. But the space, what's lovely about our booth, and I think every booth, is that everyone isn't crowded in 5, 6, 7 deep. So you've got a chance to not only see the watches, but you can also hear if you are one behind. But that's not dim the enthusiasm. In fact, it's built it up. And we've met a ton of people that have bought Christopher Ward in the past, but so many people that have never even held it. So Windup continues to do Windup things.
Yeah, and your booth, the Christopher Ward booth, has been packed all weekend.
Yep.
I think largely on the strength of the latest watch, the 12X.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the 12X, what makes it special, and what the response has been like?
Well, sure. That's one of the reasons why we have our co-founder, Mike France, here. We've also brought Will Brackfield, who's our designer of the 12X. There's been a lot of people that wanted to not only see the watch, but hear how it's come about. Well, the watch is celebrating 10 years, our anniversary of the movement, the SH21, which is an incredibly powerful engine. But to put it inside of the 12X, inside of that 12 case, has really given it a whole new dimension. A lot of people wanted to see it in person. Skeletal watches can sometimes be divisive. You love them, you get them, or you don't. But the 12X is definitely not the same as what you'd find in traditional skeletons.
Yeah.
You look through it, you look into it, you see what's been designed, decorated, parts of the SH21 that have been taken away so it looks a lot deeper. And then when you put it on the wrist, you see that 41 millimeters, and of course there's a thickness to that type of movement, dissolves because of how it's been designed.
Yeah.
Crystal on the top and the bottom, so to the eye it just feels like a proper 12 and an evolution of that model.
It's a watch that I think really pays to see in person because the finishing on this watch is so special. It's machine finishing. I think the brand is happy to disclose and admit because you've gone about finishing this movement by machine in a way that really kind of looks to the eye like traditional hand finishing anglage. It's really convincing and it's really special. Can you talk a little bit about sort of like the philosophy behind the way the aesthetic of the watch came together?
Well, it kind of goes through with the 20 years of the anniversary of the entire brand. We've just always wanted to do things, and this is obviously 6 months into the brand with my position, seeing that they want to do things different than anybody has done before, and passing on whatever savings they can make to a customer to make the best watch for the money. So when you were looking at, and I was there very, very happily a couple of months ago, seeing what we do in Switzerland and the machine that we've got, the infrastructure we've got, the suppliers and the people that are working with us, they are on the journey with us, they understand our mission, and the finishing is just like it should be in Switzerland by hand. But if we can do it a little bit quicker, a little bit finer, and use machines and the technology that's developing, the only people that will be benefiting there are our customers.
Yeah, it's a really special piece. Retail price is around $5,000.
4865.
Yeah, I handle a lot of watches. I know you do too. I can't recall seeing anything quite at this level, with these specs.
Well, I've been in the industry for a long time, probably too long. But what I've loved in this type of environment, especially with Windup, because everyone's quite open about what their questions are or what they want to discover. It's like reprogramming what $5,000 should feel like.
Yeah.
And this is not a $5,000 watch traditionally. It's just the price of a great watch that we charge $5,000 for.
Yeah, that's great. Mike, thanks so much for joining us
Pleasure.
on Week in Watches, and congratulations on the release of the 12X.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. We're here at the Lokai booth at the Windup Watch Fair in San Francisco. I'm joined by Trip, founder of the Lokai brand. Trip, how's it going?
Really great. Thanks, Zach. Thanks for stopping by.
Absolutely. My pleasure. So Lokai is, you've made your Windup debut here at the San Francisco Windup this year, and you're a California-based brand, so I thought it would be fun to kind of talk to you about your brand, the origins of the brand, and some of the watches you brought. Can you tell us a little bit about how Lokai came to be, and a little bit about your kind of like journey in the watch industry?
Sure, yeah. The brand Lokai is really built all around the concept of places. Lokai is actually the Latin word for places. So every watch is inspired by and named for an actual place, and then I give 10% of the sales of that watch to a nonprofit that does something to protect that same place.
Great.
So when folks wear the watch, they're protecting the place that inspired it.
Very cool, very cool. And how's the reception been to your watches at the Windup Fair this weekend?
It's been fantastic. Like you mentioned, this is my first Windup. I've been to a couple just as a civilian.
Yeah.
This is my first time exhibiting, and it's been really great. So of course, meeting lots of really, really nice and interesting people. getting tons of great feedback on the watches. It's been fun to see which ones people gravitate towards, what they ask about, what kind of excites them about the brand's mission or about the watches themselves. And like you mentioned in the intro, I'm a Californian. I was born in Philly, so always an East Coaster, but I lived here in San Francisco for 20 years, and now I live in Los Angeles, so the brand's based in LA.
Okay.
But it's always nice to come back up here to San Francisco, my old hometown.
Great. Tell us a little bit about the watches that you brought and maybe what people are really responding to. I see a lot of color on the Lokai table. It seems like you have kind of like a casual sports watch vibe. What are people gravitating towards when they come by your booth?
Yeah, just like you said, our first model line is named for the Pacific Coast Highway. That's the place, and there are 3 dials. There's one that I'm wearing that will kind of remind people of the road itself. Black dial, yellow stripes like on the middle of the road. There's a blue wave pattern dial, which I call the Monterey Bay to remind folks or recall the ocean. And then there's a sand-colored dial, which I call the Surf Rider Beach. And that dial is actually a picture that I took on the beach where the waves wash in and out and kind of leave streaks in the sand. And I spun that picture in a circle and printed that straight onto the dial. So when you're looking at that, you're seeing sand right off the beach.
It's very cool.
So hopefully they all make people think of the places that inspired the watches.
Yeah, that's great. And movements, you use both quartz and automatic, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So there's 3 dials, and you can get every dial with either a Ronda 715 quartz or a Sellita SW200 automatic. And the watches are all assembled and checked here in the USA.
That's great. The price point for the watches?
The quartz is $675 and auto is $1050.
Great. Trip, thank you so much for telling us all about your brand and telling us a little bit about the watches. We really appreciate it, and we hope to see you at future Windup Watch Fairs.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been fantastic, and you and the team have done an amazing job with the show. Thanks for all the hard work.
It's our pleasure. Thanks so much for coming.
Right on.
Okay, we are at the Pollen booth here at Windup San Francisco. I'm joined by Katie from Pollen. Katie, welcome to A Week in Watches. It's great to have you here.
Nice to be here.
You guys have a really awesome booth here. The second floor here in the Fort Mason building here at Windup. So much great light coming in to highlight your watches. First of all, I want to ask you, how's the fair going for you? How's the response been to Pollen here at the fair?
It's really good. Not many people had heard of us before. They know our sister brand, Anordain, and we're kind of new to San Francisco and to the Windup Fair. So yeah, I think we've got a lot of new fans, which is always good.
Yeah, so Anordain, I think, is well known to the Windup Fair attendees and Worn and Wound readers. And I think a lot of people might be under the mistaken impression that Pollen is like a spin-off of Anordain, but actually Pollen came first.
Yeah.
So I wondered if you could kind of tell us a little bit about like the origins of the brand and how Pollen is related to Anordain, because there is a relationship there, obviously.
Yeah, we just celebrated our 10-year birthday last year.
Congratulations.
Which we did with some collaborations to sort of celebrate 10 years of the brand with local artists in Glasgow. The owners are married, so that was like the main connection. And now our team are quite interspersed. So the dial designer for Anordain is our creative director, and sort of we're all in the same office, and I do sort of fly around the same place. So it's just a sort of like overlapping team.
Yeah, it's interesting. The watches don't really look like each other coming from the different brands, but there's a similar kind of focus on design and a similar sort of sensibility between the two brands that kind of links them in a pretty unique way, I think.
Yeah.
So you brought a bunch of watches here. You have a new release, the Oh No. Can you tell us a little bit about that and why that watch is special?
Yeah, so we were really excited to come to San Francisco, so we wanted to have like a Californian collaboration while we're here. So we collaborated with a Type Foundry based down in San Jose, and they designed our dial for us and made us custom numerals. Typography is really important to us at Pollen, so to like collaborate with such a great typographer and local to California was really important. And so far it's been received really, really well.
Yeah, it's a very cool design. I love the typography. It's really dynamic, really unique for a watch dial. And it comes in a pretty unique case. Can you tell us a little bit about the modal case and what makes that unique?
So the modal case, it comes from the name modular. The idea is that you can swap out different movements depending on what you want the watch for. We have it in 3 different movements. We've got a quartz movement, a manual movement, and also we just recently added a larger size at 39mm in automatic.
That's great. That's great. Price point for these watches?
They sort of vary. The quartz are about $450 if I've got my pound-dollar conversion correct. And then automatics and manuals sort of sit around $1,000.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Katie, for telling us about the new releases and a little bit more about Pollen. So where can we find the brand?
So we're an online brand. You can find us at pollenwatches.com, and everything is there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Katie. We really appreciate you taking the time, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Thanks for having me.
Our final stop at this week's A Week in Watches at the Windup Watch Fair is with Fears. I'm joined by Rob from Topper Jewelers and Nicholas from Fears. Guys, welcome to A Week in Watches, San Francisco Windup Edition. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much.
It's been wonderful to be here.
You guys released a watch at the opening of the fair that has really been a huge hit, the Silver Sector, new limited edition, yet another partnership between Fears and Topper. How many is this now for you guys?
This is our third edition.
Yes.
The first one was the first 40 millimeter Brunswick, the first automatic Fears of the modern era. That was two 25-piece limiteds. Then we did a series 2, was featuring sort of celebrating natural scenes in Northern California.
Yep.
That was 4 25-piece limiteds. And this is just one watch, one single watch.
One single watch for
single
one
dress watch.
40 pieces.
40-piece limited edition, that's correct.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. It was really a treat to see it opening day of the show. Yeah. Nicholas, can you tell us a little bit about the concept, behind this watch and the design of it, and just anything you can about it?
Certainly. So, with the previous two collaborations, they were in our 40 millimeter automatic case. As Rob mentioned, the first automatic Fears in the modern era. With this, we decided to go to what people probably most associate with Fears, our 38 millimeter, slightly dressier, manual wind. So we thought we'll use that as the canvas. That will be the basis. But then it's going, well, are we going to use all the elements we used before, like the loom, the California dial, all of these things that people will know from the previous Topper editions? And we said, no, let's move that all out. Let's actually create what has become the dressiest Topper edition ever done.
Yeah. It's really beautiful. It has this really great dial, really clearly defined sectors. I love that in a sector dial where it's just such a clean experience. No cutoff 6 in the 6 o'clock position. I know that's important to you.
Part of the joy of doing the watch was learning really what we like about sector dials and what we don't. And just trying to find the elements that really capture the right balance of having the dial have a distinctive look, but not being too crowded or over the top. And it's an artistic form that has been done time and time and time again, and people get to put their own spin on it and just value, what design features do you love that you get to put on something that's been done so many times.
Definitely.
And what was exciting, again, as Nicholas was saying, was all of our Topper editions have the same type of design cues that are used over and over and over again. But this was really more about really just a discovery of proportions and color, and really trying to do something that was without the cues that we're sort of known for.
Tell me a little about the collaborative process between the two of you. How do you guys work together on creating the final product?
Well, I always have a very strong focus on the detail. When you're making a watch, you have a very, very small amount to work with. So 0.1 millimeter can make or break a design. What's wonderful, doing this for the third time, working with Rob, is that he also appreciates the importance of that detail. So we can get to a certain point in the design quite quickly. You get the basis, and then you're going, right, now let's really go into every single element and go, the batons. I think we spent several weeks on the batons, trying them thicker, longer, shorter, wider, and it makes a difference. Now, to a lot of people, that they would glance at the two mock-ups and go, they look the same. But because we're focusing on that little detail, it means that it's got that Fears element to it coming through. And so it's great to work with Rob, and great to work with someone who also appreciates the importance of that.
Nicholas is famous for his attention to detail. There is a joy about doing rendering after rendering and just imagining the world looking at it and then thinking, is this our final statement, or do we want to keep playing with it? And coming out with watches is this combination of joy, fear, anxiety, and wonder. And I love working with Nicholas because he puts so much effort into elements that he has become an expert in. So I feel like I'm really good at coming up with the objective, but he is really good at figuring out what combination of opaline, silver will actually work with a piece, and how do you want to coat the indices? How much height can you have in the indices? All of these little details he's very gifted at. So he's a joy to collaborate with.
So we know this is a limited edition, 40 pieces. What's the price point on the watch?
So on leather strap, which is how we launched it, it's $4,000. But one of the amazing things about Windup is you really see immediate feedback. And what we discovered that we really didn't anticipate was a lot of people really liked it on the bracelet.
Yeah.
So, and I think Nicholas put some reels of it on the bracelet. And
I saw that on social media the other day. Yeah, great.
You can also buy it just with the additional bracelet for $4,400. But the watch, as intended, it's a strap watch for $4,000.
Yeah. It's a great piece. Thank you guys for telling us a little bit more about it, and thank you for coming to Windup San Francisco.
This is the best venue. I've been to Windup since halfway through the last decade, and it gets better every year. But I hope this venue sticks. This is a really great venue.
It's wonderful. So thank you guys for being here, and thank you all for joining us on A Week in Watches. We'll see you next time.